The first light over the mountains is never loud. It rises gently, a thin breath of gold along a serrated skyline. The kind of quiet glow that reminds you how small you are and how far you still have to go. For Jim Walmsley, that light has become its own kind of compass, a reminder that motion can be medicine, that forward is sometimes the only direction that makes sense. He has learned over miles and years and whole seasons of uncertainty that running isn't just something he does, it's something that steadies him, reshapes him, and in more ways than one, saves him. Long before he became a fixture in the world of ultrarunning, before the course records, before the brutal climbs up the Alps, before the roar of Chamonix echoing off the cobblestones, Walmsley was simply a restless young man who hated being still. Stillness felt like a trap. Quiet felt like a weight, and when he left the Air Force Academy and entered active duty, that restlessness collided with a world that demanded control, discipline, and containment. He was stationed deep beneath the surface in Montana, in a small underground room tethered to the responsibility of nuclear missiles. Days built on fluorescent light, isolation, and long hours that left no space for the trails he used to know. He would steal moments when he could, slipping out into the sprawling Montana wilderness, letting the cold air and pine-heavy wind remind him of who he had been before uniform and duty consumed him. But even those stolen miles struggled to counter the pressure building around him. A proficiency test scandal and an earlier DUI mounted into consequences that pulled him from the military entirely. And in the silent and disorienting aftermath, his world collapsed inward. Depression tightened its grip. Dark thoughts crept into corners of his mind he had never visited before. Those memories remain tender, jagged, remnants of a life unraveling. But there, in that unraveling, something small survived, the faint instinct to run, not for performance, not for competition, but simply to feel something again. Moving to Flagstaff, working in a bike shop, he began to piece together a rhythm. One run, then another, then entire weeks strung like beads on a thread, and slowly, impossibly, he found that the miles gave him structure. The routine gave him clarity. The effort gave him a reason to show up again the next day. Running became the bright point, the one place where his mind unknotted. Every day he laced his shoes, he was rebuilding from the inside out. What began as stability turned into fire. Walmsley leaned into training with the same intensity that once made stillness unbearable. It wasn't long before he discovered the world he hadn't known existed back in Montana, the wild, dirt-covered, soul-testing arena of ultra-running. The distances were unthinkable to most people, the terrain bordered on cruel. Yet here, among the steep ridgelines and endless switchbacks, he found a kind of truth that had no place on a 400-meter track. He found a community that celebrated suffering, that understood the strange relief of pushing past what you thought was the edge of your own endurance. His entry into this world was anything but smooth. At Western States in 2016, 7 miles from glory and on pace for a course record, he took a wrong turn that cost him everything. What should have been a coronation became a wandering, a stumble back to the course, a finish so far from what he had imagined that he could barely look at the result. But the beauty of the mountains is that they don't care about your expectations. They don't care what you planned. They only offer you another starting line. Walmsley returned. He studied the sport, learned its harsh demands. He learned that in ultra-running, patience is a weapon. That walking isn't defeat, it's strategy. That eating, even when your stomach revolts, is survival. That sometimes the way forward is to slow down when every instinct screams to accelerate. These weren't lessons he had grown up with, but they became the backbone of his evolution. In time, the results followed. 4 wins at Western States, a world best 50-mile time, and then the crown jewel, UTMB, 108 miles around Mont Blanc, crossing France, Italy, and Switzerland, climbing nearly 10,000 meters, an elevation gain higher than Mount Everest itself. It is a race that humbles even the most seasoned athletes. And in 2023, Walmsley became the first American man to win it. He carved his name into the granite of mountain running history and into the collective memory of thousands who watched him storm through Chamonix with the kind of exhausted, triumphant disbelief that only UTMB can produce. Yet even with all the accolades, Walmsley's relationship with running remains deeply human, not performance-driven, not ego-driven, but elemental. The knee injury he battled earlier this year forced him into the kind of stillness he has always struggled with. It kept him from defending the full UTMB course, limiting him instead to the OCC, a shorter but still brutal route winding from Switzerland to Chamonix. Living part-time in Ardèche, so close to the mountains that shaped his greatest victory, he felt the frustration crackle under his skin. But patience, once his greatest weakness, has become a quiet mentor. He knows what it means to push too hard too soon. He knows how a body can break if the mind refuses to yield. And so he waits, nurtures the knee, trusts the slow return. He thinks about the future not in terms of podiums, but longevity. About running not as a profession, but as a lifelong companion, something that keeps him stable, grounded, sane. Ultrarunning has a way of stripping life down to the essentials. The world narrows to simple questions. Can you take another step? Can you stay in the present moment? Can you live inside discomfort long enough for it to transform you? Walmsley has lived those questions mile after mile. He has learned that the trail doesn't offer clarity. It demands it. It pulls the truth out of you in sweat and breath and the echoing quiet between footsteps. Out on the course, doubts always come. He talks about them with the calm familiarity of someone who has met them many times before. The long night miles when your mind turns against you. The hours when the body feels hollow, like your strength has spilled out somewhere miles behind. But those moments also bring you back to something essential. The simplicity of moving forward, of surviving one more climb, one more ridge, one more hour, until daybreak slips over the horizon and reminds you why you started. For Walmsley, running is not an escape anymore. It's a return. A way to reconnect with the version of himself he wants to carry forward. The man who understands that adversity doesn't break you if you learn how to bend with it. The man who knows that sometimes the most profound transformations happen quietly, between breaths, alone on a trail. He says he wants to be a lifetime runner, not because of records, not because of trophies, but because motion is the thing that keeps him aligned with himself. Because somewhere in the rhythm of footsteps and the rise of mountains, he feels balanced. He feels honest. He feels alive. And as he looks ahead toward new races, new trails, and perhaps another run at UTMB, the arc of his story bends not toward victory, but toward endurance. Toward understanding that life, like ultra running, isn't about conquering the mountain. It's about allowing the mountain to shape you, to test you, to remind you that you are stronger than the hardest miles behind you, and not yet finished with the miles ahead. The trail continues, winding into new terrain, disappearing around another bend. And Jim Walmsley, as he has done again and again, steps forward into the quiet certainty of motion, trusting that running will keep lighting the way one stride at a time.